how. I don't know how you are able to manage this. How do you, Disney slash Lucasfilm, take an iconic character, an iconic franchise, and manage miraculously to run it into the ground? In all seriousness, guys, the fifth and final Indiana Jones movie, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, it is everything wrong with filmmaking today. It is everything wrong with filmmaking. I want to talk about two things that are positive, and then I'm going to, and I'm telling you right now, I'm going to hammer this film into the ground, resurrect it, put it on a shuttlecraft, and send it to the sun, because that's where it belongs. It belongs at the core of the sun, being burned up for eternity. Because I'm going to say something that I know is probably going to piss a lot of people off, and it's going to get a lot of hate in the comment section, but here we go. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, for all of its faults, for all of its flaws, is still better. It is still a better movie and a better conclusion to the Indiana Jones franchise. I mean, you could still argue, and I could still agree with you on the fact that Indiana Jones' The Last Crusade was the last one. I mean, literally, it's called The Last Crusade. It's almost just like, okay, you have a set conclusion point for your character, for your franchise. It's the same thing with, like, for example, a series of unfortunate events. It's like, what would happen if they tried to make a movie franchise or the Netflix recent series? What would happen if they tried to make an entire 14th, book out of thin air when there's nothing been written by the actual author of the first 13? No one would like that. Same thing with Lord of the Rings, for example. It's like, we don't want to know what happens after Return of the King, because there's nothing to tell. That you've won the final battle, the enemy has been defeated, there's nothing left to tell. I mean, you can't tell a really compelling story if everything's peachy keen and really happy-dory, because no one's going to want to watch that. People go to watch movies and shows because of the conflict between good and evil. So why would you want to continue on after everything's been concluded? And to be honest with you, I feel like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was a really good conclusion. Yeah, it had a lot of stupid stuff in it, and it had a lot of plot conveniences, and Shia LaBeouf's acting is questionable, and his character is questionable being in the movie. But you gotta admit that the finale of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was definitely a much better conclusion to not only the Indiana Jones franchise, but the Indiana Jones character, where he gets married to the love of his life, and then they tease that he's going to pass the torch on to possibly his son, played by Shia LaBeouf. This movie doesn't have any of that. Dial of Destiny is not an Indiana Jones movie. Now, for the first 15 to 20 minutes, featuring the de-aging of Harrison Ford of Indiana Jones, and the movie being set during the finale of the World War II era, I think that's good. The first opening sequence, the first 15-20 minutes, is really good. I think the CGI is pretty good. The action's great. The first 15 to 20 minutes of the movie felt like an Indiana Jones film. But this movie's 2 hours and 30 minutes long. There are some movies that don't need to be that long. I remember watching films when I was in high school, and the idea of a 2-hour movie was like, I don't know if I can survive that. Like, a 90-minute movie is perfect. For most people, a 90-minute movie is perfect because that means you have 3 acts. You have your opening, a little prologue, then you have your act 1, then you got your act 2 that sets up, you got act 1 sets up the characters, the lore, the world, and all that stuff. Act 2 is where character revelations and such start to happen. You got the big plot twist and whatnot. And Act 3, the last 30 minutes of your film or show or whatever, is supposed to be the big, gigantic, climactical battle and the conclusion to the story. Now we live in a world where movies have to be 2.5 hours, 3 hours. Avatar: The Way of Water, almost 3.5 hours long. And don't get me started with Lord of the Rings Extended Edition. Now, there are certain things that I like being longer. Lord of the Rings Extended Edition. Perfect. It's worth it because there's so much lore and characters and world to explore. And having a 4.5 hour extended edition for that type of movie, I understand why. It makes sense. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny being 2.5 hours long is not needed. Not needed. Why did they have to make the last Indiana Jones movie the longest? There's no reason for it because the film is just bloated. There's tons of, oh, look at me walking slowly. Let's have a car chase scene that takes forever. Does anyone remember Raiders of the Lost Ark in The Last Crusade when they had those gigantical, car chase scenes and vehicle sequences? But it added to the plot. It added to the suspense of a character possibly living or dying. And, it was pushing the plot forward and the momentum forward and the characters forward, the tension forward. The action sequences that are in here are just that. Action sequences. They don't add to character development, the plot moving forward, the lore and world being built up. You just have people literally shooting at each other, running into each other, and having fistfights and whips and guns and battles and oh my, this review is almost 8 minutes long and I really haven't even dived into it yet. The movie's way too long. The film also, like I said, makes Indiana get divorced with the love of his life that he married in number 4. Sorry if I don't remember the name of the actress or the character. Shia LaBeouf's character is killed off screen. He gets killed in, I believe, the Vietnam War. It was a really quick one-line reference that they mentioned just to explain why his character's not in the movie, and Shia LaBeouf gets replaced by Phoebe Waller's character. Before I go into any more negatives, I want to say the soundtrack by John Williams. Good job. Good job. That's it for positives. It's time to run this film into the ground. Because Indiana Jones is now divorced, because Indiana Jones no longer has a son alive to be with, that allows for Phoebe Waller's character to be entered in. She is a Mary Sue. She is a Mary Sue. She is good at everything, and she can do everything. She is an archaeologist. She is a feminist powerhouse. She is a librarian girl boss. She is a con artist. She is good at guns. She's good at vehicles. She's good at berating men. She is the most insulting, the most frustrating, the most irritating character I have seen on screen. This character is everything wrong with Hollywood, bottled up into a 2.5 hour package for you to watch on screen. She is worse than Rey Palpatine. Yeah, you heard me right. Rey Palpatine. Not Rey Skywalker, Rey Palpatine. This character played by Phoebe Waller is worse than Rey Palpatine. She is the focal point. While Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones is just there. Harrison Ford does not do anything in this movie. He is literally on screen for a paycheck. Okay, if you wanted to see Harrison Ford play Indiana Jones for his final outing, like the marketing, tells you it's supposed to be, you're not going to get that. That's not what this movie is. Sorry, no, goodbye. This movie is not an Indiana Jones movie. It is a literal, let's hand the characters nameplate off to a more powerful, empowered, albeit superhero, Mary Sue, good at everything, has no flaws, female character to continue the legacy and continue the character on once Harrison Ford has passed away. That is all this movie is. It is literally passing the torch on from one generation to another. What does that sound like to you? Star Wars, The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. But that's what this movie is. It is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is the Star Wars sequel trilogy. In the Indiana Jones, it's just Star Wars in the Indiana Jones franchise. That's all Lucasfilm did. They took the exact same destructive points that they did to the men characters like Luke Skywalker in the sequel trilogy. They copy and pasted that formula. Thank you, Kathleen Kennedy. Copy and pasted that exact same formula and transferred it over to the Indiana Jones franchise, and that's what they came up with when it came to when it became Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. That's what this movie is. It is literally copy-paste formula. The villains never... Rewatch the original... go back and watch the sequel trilogy if you can stomach it. But I'm going to give you a quick summary as to what happens. The villains are never scary, and they arrive whenever they want to in the sequel trilogy. Do they do that in this film? Yes, constantly, because the plot just needs them to. This film is also overstuffed with plot conveniences. Everything just happens because, I knew this information, and I'm not going to tell you how I got it because it would take too long. Thank God they don't try to, because then this movie would be 4.5 hours long, and I would be shooting a bullet into the screen. The ending of the film is also not satisfying. The film does not even have a satisfying conclusion. I don't want to get into spoilers too much when it comes to this review. But the conclusion to this film and to it being the finale of the Indiana Jones franchise, it's not satisfying. It literally just... The ending of this movie is basically the ending of The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Missing a couple key components, which makes it worse. And Indiana Jones also is not the person that saves the day. It's Phoebe Waller's character. Phoebe Waller's character, and yeah, I can't even remember her character's name because I don't much care. But her character is the one that ends up saving the day. She hits the reset button to make sure everything's back the way it should be in modern day. By the way, the Dial of Destiny is literally just a time machine in the palm of your hand. It's literally a infinity stone. And they spend 2.5 hours tracking the pieces down to reassemble it so they can travel through time. Literally, this is a time travel adventure. Not what I wanted from an Indiana Jones movie. Now, yeah, the past Indiana Jones movies, they've had some really weird sci-fi elements. But anytime you put time travel into a franchise, you literally, and I know I've said this before, unless your franchise is really built, unless your franchise, whether it's a movie or a show, is built on the concept of time travel from the very beginning. Example, Timeless, Lost. Unless they are built around some sort of time travel element to begin with, and you know that's going to happen eventually, then when you introduce a time travel mechanic into your movie or franchise, that means you just run out of ideas. And that's what they did here. They didn't have any creative thinking when it came to the plot. So they're like, well, we'll introduce this plot MacGuffin of time travel, and it'll be fun. It's not. The conclusion makes it where you're just like, it's not worth your time. It's not worth your money. Now, I want to stress something. I've never been a huge fan or a hater of the Indiana Jones films. And you might be thinking, what the hell? I've enjoyed watching them. But I've never been like, yay, new Indiana Jones movie, I'm so excited to watch! Or I'm not like, woohoo, let's go watch Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. I love that movie so much. I'm not that type of person. But I'm also not a hater, okay? I just watch the movies because I feel like they're fun. There's nothing fun in this entire movie, except for, like I said, the first 15 to 20 minutes. I thought that was pretty good. But the rest of the movie is just Indiana Jones being destroyed, being replaced by a woman that can take over the franchise when Harrison Ford passes away. Lastly, I want to say this, and I know I've already made a video talking about this a while ago, but I'm curious as to what Disney and Lucasfilm are going to be able to do now. They have literally destroyed everything that George Lucas created with his vision. Lucasfilm and Disney, they are not creators. They are destroyers, as the Critical Drinker said on his channel. Disney and Lucasfilm are not creators. They're not visionaries. They are destroyers. They are the destructive force within Hollywood. And now that they have destroyed and ruined everything that visionaries have created, they have to come up with something new. Which I'm kind of curious as to how they're going to do that. They have literally they've ruined Star Wars. They've ruined Willow. They've ruined Indiana Jones. They've ruined... There's just so much they've destroyed. I don't... It's hard to keep track. It's hard to keep track. But getting back to this film, there's nothing in this movie that I'm going to want to remember. And the only things that I'm going to remember in this movie is the awful garbage that's within it. And that's not a good thing. I should remember films and shows that I love, because they were written well, they had good plots, good world building, good lore, good characters, good twists and turns, good action sequences, revelations, love, drama, action, gunfights, whatever. And this film just doesn't have anything that lands. Nothing sticks and lands in this movie. And I'm going to stay on by the fact that I think Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was a good conclusion. And I think the Dial of Destiny is just fluff. It's fluff content for the sake of them putting something out. And I don't ever plan to willingly rewatch this movie. I don't care if it comes out on Disney Plus. I don't care if it comes out on DVD or Blu-ray. I don't have any interest in willingly watching it unless I'm going to watch it with somebody and being like, hey, this is how you make a shit movie. Let's watch this. You ready to waste 2.5 hours of your life? Because here's a pile of dog shit on a disc or in a digital store or on a streaming device or a streaming service. Get ready to waste time. This is the very formula of how to write shit. Don't follow in their footsteps when it comes to this type of stuff. It boggles my mind that this movie was even greenlit. I mean, I know Kathleen Kennedy and a bunch of other morons at Disney and Lucasfilm thought this would be good. Clearly, the box office has proven wrong, and I'm happy that people are waking up to realizing this is shit. So, let me know in the comment section down below. Do you guys agree or disagree? Why or why not? And I'm going to give Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny here from 2023 a 1 out of 10. One of the worst movies of this year. Definitely. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day. Look forward to more videos and streams coming out soon. And if you guys have any movies or shows you guys are interested in me watching and covering here on the channel, please let me know in the comment section down below. You guys all have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.